Dean Ambrose was born on December 7th, 1985, in Cincinnati, Ohio, with the birth name Jonathan Good. Not much is known about Dean's early life, but he has said in many interviews that he had a tough upbringing, that he grew up with his mom and sister, and that his dad wasn't around. Dean loved wrestling growing up, but the only way he was able to watch it was to rent WWE and WCW home videotapes from local video stores, because his family didn't have enough money for cable. Sasha Banks was born on January 26, 1992, in Fairfield, California. Her birth name is Mercedes Kastner Varnado. She later moved to Boston so her family could find a better school and hospital for her disabled brother. Banks was a big fan of the WWE growing up, and her favorite show was SmackDown, which featured her favorite wrestler, the late Eddie Guerrero. Big Show was born Paul White on February 8, 1972, in Aiken, South Carolina. Big Show had a rough time as a kid because of his size, and he was even bullied for his height, even though he was bigger than all the other kids. By age 12, the Big Show was 6 feet tall and weighed 220 pounds. Big Show went on to be a star college basketball player, but decided to give pro wrestling a call when he was discovered by Hulk Hogan in 1994. Daniel Bryan was born as Bryan Danielson on May 22, 1981, in Aberdeen, Washington. Growing up, Bryan competed in various sports, including football and baseball. Bryan also grew up a huge WWE fan and would sometimes wrestle his friends and family at home for fun. Chris Jericho was born as Chris Irvine on November 9, 1970, in Manhasset, New York. His dad, NHL player Ted Irvine, lived in New York because he played for the New York Rangers, and eventually he moved his family to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Chris's interest in pro wrestling began when he started watching local AWA events. Jericho's love of pro wrestling continued into his teens, where he would attend wrestling shows and conventions, including meeting legends like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. The Bella twins, Nikki and Brie, whose birth names are Nicole and Brianna Garcia, were born on November 21, 1983, in San Diego, California. But soon after their birth, the Garcia family moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, where their family had a farm. The Bellas spent most of their early life playing soccer, winning trophies, and never intended to become pro wrestlers, and rarely ever watched it as kids. Bill Goldberg was born on December 27, 1966, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. At an early age, Bill acquired a love of football and wasn't a pro wrestling fan at all growing up. Goldberg's love of football led him to excelling as a defensive tackle for the Georgia Bulldogs college football team. This led him to short stints in the NFL and CFL. John Cena was born on April 23, 1977, in West Newbury, Massachusetts. He grew up an avid wrestling fan and was such a fanatic that him and his brothers created their own wrestling federation where they wrestled each other, and the champion received a homemade title belt. Brock Lesnar was born on July 12, 1977, in the small town of Webster, South Dakota. In high school, Brock described himself as being somewhat of a nerd and shy. Even though he had these traits, Brock became a high-level amateur wrestler. The Undertaker was born Mark Calloway on March 24, 1965, in Houston, Texas, where he grew up with 4 older brothers. While attending high school, he was a member of the football and basketball teams. He eventually went on to college, where he played basketball,